4, 3, 2, 1.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point you realize you married into crazy. And that's what our show is all about. If your marriage or relationship is compassionate, real, accountable, zealous and yielding, or just plain crazy, Snooks and Lovey offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as they unpack this thing called marriage. Sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
I had to get it in real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that are here for the first time, look, we are a couple that has this podcast since 2018. We talk about all things marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that get discussed, don't get talked about, get swept under the rug. Not here. So if you've ever wanted to be a fly on the wall and get your ear hustle on between a married couple and see what we talk about behind closed doors, this is the place for you.
Right. So since this is the place to talk about everything, I just want to know, how all in are you?
That is not a question a woman should be asking a man.
That is not a question a woman wants to ask a man.
Yeah, okay,
so.
True that. No, I mean, what do you mean by all in? How all in am I?
Like in your relationship, in our relationship, or your only relationship. No.
Okay,
like
wait. Before we go in, I will come back to that.
Before we go all in?
Before we go all in, I'll come back to that. First, I want to remind everybody, wherever you're listening to us or watching, make sure that you hit subscribe and leave a review. Right, get those 5 stars wherever you may be. Doesn't matter what platform it is. We appreciate you being here, and we ask that you go ahead and share. Let other people know about the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey, but also just take a moment to increase discoverability so we can broaden the audience and widen the conversation. There's some topics that we're going to get into later this year that it's going to require some robust conversation after the fact.
So while you're clicking on to Married into Crazy, checking out the website, go ahead and click the button to purchase your tickets for the Winter Ball and Marriage MIC Marriage Conference, which is February 7th and 8th. We are counting down. We're in the last 30 days, and the window of opportunity to purchase tickets, it will be closing soon. So come through, get your tickets. It's going to be a great time. Friday night is basically a big date night. We have dinner. We're going to have dancing. I might do a couple raffles. I'm not sure, but it's going to be a lot of fun with some great people. And then on Saturday, we'll get into the nuts and bolts, as I like to call it. We have 6 dynamic speakers. Do I name them?
You don't have to name them. I mean, there's 6 incredible. Oh, let's go ahead and name them. Go ahead, name them. Name them.
So Eva Palacios, Cloyce and Sheila Dickerson. We're going to have
the Winrows.
Oh my God. Okay. Derek and Lillian Winrow. They'll be our MIC. I mean, the
Masters of Ceremony.
Masters of Ceremony. And we'll have Pastor and First Lady Delisa Swanigan. You will also have this.
Well, actually, it's Pastor OJ and First Lady Delisa.
Wow. Did you want to just go ahead
and
finish? And go ahead. You got it. You got it.
I'm all in on this mansplaining.
You got it.
I'm all in when it comes to mansplaining. Go ahead.
You can do the last 2.
You have Terrell and Courtney Muhammad that are actually going to be there. And the coup de grace, the last minute edition, we actually have my mentor and a good friend, Dr. Eric Thomas, better known as E.T. the hip hop preacher. E.T. is going to be in the house talking about and elevating marriage. We're all going to be there lifting up marriages from wherever it may be. So the other day I was talking to somebody about it, and she was like, my marriage is rock solid. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. I think it is. Like I said, but I asked her, do you have a car? She's like, yeah, I got a car. I said, do you ever take your car in for tune-ups, oil change, get the tires rotated? She started laughing. She's like, yes, I do. And I'm like, well, why don't you do the exact same thing for your marriage? Why would you extend courtesies to your vehicle that you don't extend to your marriage?
Yeah. So last couple will be us. We'll be speaking also. But I just kind of want to I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. I know we're talking about being all in, but this is part of being a little bit of that conversation. It's part of being all in too. A lot of times I feel like when you talk to couples or you ask someone about, say you bring up a marriage conference or a retreat, they automatically think that it's for struggling marriages, it's for marriages that are in trouble. And it's like, no, it's total opposite. I mean, that could be some of that too, but we don't go to or look forward to going to marriage retreats and conferences because we're struggling. We like to be around like-minded couples who enjoy the company of each other, but also are looking for ways to enhance their marriage to be all in. We're all in, but if there's something else that can get me all in, then let's do it. So
we don't just put on marriage conferences, so we have this one coming up.
We go.
We attend. We go to marriage conferences. We're going to a marriage conference in April that we're looking forward to up in Lake Tahoe. So I'm telling you that it's for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a newlywed, if you're engaged, if you're long-term committed, if you're somebody that's been married for 20 years or you've been married for 60 years. There's always something to be learned in an environment, like you said, with like-minded individuals that are there trying to enrich their marriages. And we encourage all of you to come to Sacramento. We do have a whole hotel room block that's set up at the Hilton Garden Inn over in Elk Grove. And it's under Married into Crazy. If you want to come into town, have a massive date night. Friday night dancing to the music. Actually, it's 90s throwback R&B music of the Sugar High Band, a highly accommodated band in the area. Come out, do that. Then we're going to have G3 Healing Foods, an amazing farm to fork. Sacramento's known for being farm to fork. And this is an amazing farm to fork top chefs that are going to be preparing the meals. And then, of course, we already told you the lineup for Saturday. And this year, we actually have the option, 2 options. You can do the whole caboodle and caboodle, so to speak, do the whole thing Friday and Saturday. But then you also, if for whatever reason, daycare, challenges, work, whatever. If you can't make it Friday night and you can't make it to the ball, you can still get a Saturday-only ticket. Go to the website. You can find it at marriedintocrazy.com. Click on Winter tab. You can look at the lineup, see the different people, but then secure your seats. And you can go there and see the agenda as well as the pricing options, the 2-day or the 1-day pricing option for you.
So that was a late addition also because we had gotten so many requests to add Saturday only because there are a variety of people who were not able to come on Friday night, but they really did want to be part of the conference. So for those of you who asked the question, we heard you and we made it happen. So we're actually very glad to do it too, because as we talk about being all in, going to different venues and retreats and conferences and learning things, that's about being all in. That's how you be all in. Being all in is being fully committed to your relationship, mentally, emotionally, as Lovey you like to say, physically.
Amen. Amen.
And these type of events, they help you deepen your level of the investment that you have, because if the investment's going to give you tools, those tools are going to yield dividends when you're at home, when you're from something serious to something very small. It could be you might learn a new game or whatever, how to resolve conflicts and stuff like that.
Say that.
So there's going to be a whole lot of variety.
There's vendors.
A range of
Saturday's gonna be food trucks. There's a lot. Look, come on out. Get your ticket. Right. It's a very small investment. Look, I know for a fact that when ET speaks at events, the tickets are upwards of $500 for a 1-day event just to see him and another lineup of speakers. You have the opportunity to have both of you come in. It's almost like you're getting a 2-for-1 in order to actually come in and see not just ET, but these other dynamic, sought-after speakers. So, look, invest in your marriage, like she said. But let's get back to talking about if I'm all in.
Well, okay, so since we're kind of led with the conference being another tool for being all in, yep. That's just another thing to do. It's about being committed,
But what does it mean to be all in? I mean, because that's a broad term. People use it all the time. In corporate America, I think for the last 2 years, my organization that I work for, they are constantly saying, there's videos and, senior leadership and, all of us managers and all the other people are like, are you all in? And everyone's like, I'm all in. And then it's like this catchphrase. But what does that mean?
Well, for a relationship standpoint, you mean for a period or just?
I mean, for a relationship. Okay, what does it mean to be all in?
I literally just said it about being fully committed, emotionally, mentally, as you would like to say, physically.
Oh, I'm supposed to listen to? Okay, gotcha. All in also means you're listening.
Listening, exactly.
Listening.
No, it just, being all in is about the level of commitment that you have with your partner. And commitment is something that you have to have in order to be all in. You stay committed. Les Brown had a saying, stay committed to your commitments. So I'm committed to this commitment that I have. And that means being there totally, showing up when it's challenging, and not just when it's fun, not just when we are having a good time or we're making plans to go on vacation. Keeping my commitments to my commitments means I'm staying true to my word to my husband. I'm using congruence. I'm being congruent, I'm maintaining integrity. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. So
when you talk about commitment, in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. That commitment's a great word. But a lot of times we get confused with certain words, just using the English language. I mean, is commitment, when you commit, it's supposed to be a verb, which is an action word, right? It's not something. It's not, my commitment is a thing. It really should be more about you committing, which is more of a doing. There should be action behind the commitment.
So for me, that's prioritizing. I feel like me committing to this relationship is I am prioritizing my relationship over everything else,
Great point. So, it's funny. E.T. was talking about in a previous, one of the more recent podcasts, he had relayed that there was a time where he was all in on the business, traveling the world and talking and doing these conferences and so forth, and really building the empire of Eric Thomas and Associates. But there was a period where his son, Jalen, didn't think that E.T. was as committed to him as he was to his business. And he was talking about how when it struck him that had transpired, he never wanted his son to feel that way, or his daughter. So now, it doesn't matter if he's getting paid $150,000 or $200,000 to be on stage presenting at these corporate functions or whatever, or with the NFL or the NBA. It is known that if the phone rings and it's his son, he's taking the call in the middle of the stage. And he might be like, hey, you know what? Hey, I'm just, you good? I'm up on stage. Just want to check in on you. And his son say, oh, no, you know what? I'll call you back. And so he'll be like, okay, cool. Because he needs to let his son know that he's committed.
Well, not only is he letting his son know that he's committed, he's letting the people that see him know that he's committed to his son. I feel like at one time that would have been so frowned upon. Oh my God, that's so unprofessional. Right. That's so blah, blah, blah. But now people are like, good for you. That's right. Your son comes first. And maybe it's this awareness more about the mental health and the space and depression or whatever. When I'm in need, I need to know that someone is there, the support. So everything stops. I'm pressing the brakes. And I think people appreciate that more. I feel like they do. I could be wrong, but I feel like people appreciate that more because I'm showing a level of commitment to my child who I care most about. Overall, y'all, I'm here for a reason for y'all, but I'm really here for a reason for him.
So let me give a recommendation. So what would that look like in your marriage? That would look like, first off, whether it doesn't matter if you're team Google or if you're team Apple, everybody has the ability to, on your phone, to create or to select a specific ring or a specific vibration for certain individuals. So my wife and daughters have a very specific vibration on my phone. When that vibration hits, I know it's them. Nobody else on my phone has that same vibration. So by being all in, one of the things that you can do in corporate America, in your own business, if you're, a world-renowned speaker, or if you're, a chef or whatever, when that vibration hits, when it's your wife or your husband, you let the people know, hey, hold on just a second. My wife is calling. And because that lets them know that the most important thing to you. Now, if you're right in the middle of a meeting and it's extremely important, you can set the stage. It's like, hey, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be great. I know that everybody here is very professional, but I just need to make it known that my wife and my children are the very most important thing to me in the entire world, outside of this job, outside of this business, outside of all of your accounts. And you have to say it that way, but just let you know, like, hey, if I get a specific ring or what have you, that means it's an emergency and I'm taking the call. Just letting you know. Now let's get to the meeting.
Right. You've already said this.
You may never have to pick it up.
Right.
And quite honestly, if an individual finds you being unprofessional, whatever, that's on them. But I think that at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror and your head hits your pillow, you're going to know you were exactly who God needed you to be in that moment. Who He's blessed you to be in that moment.
I agree.
So I like your definition of being all in. You know, one of the things that I'm going to talk about, I think, is required to be all in is vulnerability. I think what I just talked about is doing that's one form. You might call it being courageous, whatever, but I think it's also a form of being vulnerable. But I'm talking about vulnerable with each other. One way to be all in is, particularly for men, is to shed the armor, right? Put down your sword. And it's great to defend the family and be that knight in shining armor, but you need to actually let them know that you have soft spots, particularly your wife. And vice versa. And if the wife is the one that is a little bit more, that wears the armor for the family, then take yours off as well. We have to be emotionally available and hit the vulnerability. And it's not just in the times where everybody's just like, oh, everything's going great, whatever. Let them see the sensitivity of difficult times. I've never cried more than I have in the past 2 years because of the loss of our son. Same with Snooks. Some men, I know this because I've been in some groups where it was hard for them to show their feelings. And it's unfortunate, but I've been in corporate meetings. I know 3 people that I work with across the nation, and we've all lost our sons from a variety of backgrounds, different ethnicities. And when it's brought up or there's recognition, we're allowed to cry right there in the middle of the meeting. And we're talking about a Fortune 50 company. And I think that that's important because we need to be able to do that with our spouses. We need to make sure that they know that, you know what, I'm human. I'm real. And it's required because you can't truly love somebody else. You can't, everybody wants to feel loved, but in order to truly be loved, you have to love. And the only way that you can truly give all of yourself and love is through vulnerability, letting them know that I like this, I don't like this, this hurt me, this. And so anyway, I think I've gone on long enough.
But on the flip side of that too, I think that maybe the vulnerability is not shown because there's that facade of kind of like you spoke to about being a man. That means you're weak. That it means different things to different people. So if I see you cry in your mind, if you associate crying with being weak, you could think that, oh, she's going to think I'm weak, or she's going to think I'm soft, or something like that. You know, we have to make, not just the women, but it could be whoever holds that. We have to make that space safe for them to be vulnerable, because people will not be vulnerable if they don't feel like it's a safe space for them.
Very true.
It has to be safe for you to express your fears, so that and not feel like you're going to be judged by them. So there's an onus of responsibility on both parts. You being all in is you being vulnerable, but me being all in requires for me to allow you that space to be vulnerable.
I like that.
You know? So it's not just one person. A lot of times I feel like when couples, there's always, well, he needs to or she needs to or whatever. No, it's we need to. It's because it's us. If we're talking about staying committed, we're keeping the commitments to the commitments. We need to be consistent with the actions that come.
No, agree. And it's so funny when you were saying we need to, and I was like, yeah, we do need to. But the beauty of it is, if you're in a committed relationship, if you're in a marriage, you get to.
You have the opportunity.
You have the opportunity to. There's a lot of people out there that don't get to confide in someone with, in a safe place. There's a lot of marriages where there is no safe place.
Yeah.
But you can get there. It can
Yeah.
still be created, but it requires a level of vulnerability, and it requires a lot of trust. And it's going to require a lot of discussion. And to be quite honest with you, I know that we're marriage coaches and we've referred people to other coaches. We refer people to other therapists. It requires outside intervention. The funny thing about marriage is that, it's a DIY. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a DIY. And it is to a certain extent. But it's so wild how we all have this marriage and we think it's a DIY, but nobody seems to have an instruction manual on how to put this thing together. I mean, we do based on your faith. There's a lot of things in the Bible that guide us and how we should be living. And that is the truest example of an instruction manual. But how many people are truly applying that on a daily basis? What we have a tendency to do is look at the manual that my aunt had, or that my parents had, or that my neighbor had, or that my sibling had, and we try and take those instructions that we saw them do and apply them to ours. And pretty soon, it looks like a piece of IKEA furniture.
Yeah.
So, the arm is over here and the shelf is over there and it's all jacked up. And you're like, well, didn't you read the instructions? I thought I did, but didn't quite turn out the way I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's too many marriages that are exactly in the same, in that boat.
That's true. That's very true.
So the last thing I think we should talk about when it comes to being all in is maintaining your, respect for each other. And I said, I guess, respect, because you got to have a healthy sense of respect for the other person's individuality. Even though we're talking about we need to be in all in together and it's a together thing, and we're always talking about coming together, but you also have to respect each other's individuality.
Yeah. I agree with that. Sometimes I need space.
I like how she turned and looked right at me and she said that.
I think that's for everyone. It's so funny because Lovey, I'm just going to put it on blast. Lovey is notorious for, if I'm having quiet time, I feel like it's my quiet time or whatever. I'm just doing my own little thing. And he's like, hey, I need you for a sec. Or, hey, I want you to look at this. Or, hey. Okay. And I oblige. All right. But when I do it, he's like, I'm working. I got this to do. I got that to do. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, bruh, you need to keep that same energy for when I come in, when you come and bother me, when I come and bother you.
You're right.
So you need to be excited to see my face and say, babe, tell me what you got.
I you know what? You are absolutely right. And I'll admit to the entire world that guilty as charged. Because I know she'll walk around with her headphones on and she listens to her music, and I'll sit there and just wait until she can see me.
It's so hard to get your attention. I was like, because I'm not trying to give it to you.
So true. But you know what? And there's a lesson in there for me. I talk about respecting a person's individuality, and I need to get better at that as well. So, but it is true. And, we all want a vision for our marriage. We all want to have a vision, and we want to see it go someplace because we have these ideas about what it's supposed to look like and what we're supposed to do. But recognize that even though you have this vision, like I have a vision, she has a vision, and our visions might not be exactly the same. Her vision of us getting along is her with her headphones on and singing and dancing and prancing around the house. And
every day.
And my vision is like, hey, babe, me seeing her do that. And then she takes time for me when I need her. So we need to have a meeting of minds, come together and figure out what is that really supposed to look like that makes us both happy.
Well, but I feel like, and that's true, the coming together with the meeting of the minds, that's like shared values. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What are our core, what is the core value? What is our shared vision? How do we align or make space for each other's? So like half the time when you're calling me, I'll ignore you, and the other
She admitted
I'm
it.
playing.
She admitted it.
I'm asking that question. I'm asking it. No, but we just have to give each other that space and that time, but not be so exclusive either. Because I know that I could be, I'm so good. Like Lovey said, I'll put my headphones on. I dance every day. It doesn't matter where I'm at, whatever room, I'll start dancing. I have to remember that he needs something and I need to be available to him. And when I do those things, I'm not doing it. Here I go, having an attitude. Yeah. My effort. What type of effort am I putting into it? What is the intention behind it? So I need to say, okay, Rana, Lovey requires this. Lovey needs that. Doesn't take away from me still having my me time or him having him time when I need something. So it's just a matter of, why are you frowning your face up?
I don't know. You make me sound like a diva. Like
no.
Lovey he's needy. He needs this. He needs that. Okay, Rana, settle down. You know that boy needs something. So let me go take care of him. I'm sitting there going, wait a minute now. Wait, hold on. Am I that needy? I'm like, dang. I swear. So look. No, but she's absolutely right.
I didn't mean it like that. I hope you're playing. 'Cause I didn't mean it like that. But no, that's just me saying to myself, don't be so, you know how I get. I get in my own world at times, and I'll forget about everybody. I'm like, okay, tick, 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 tick. I tick them off. Everybody's good. But is that really something I should be doing like that? Just, my effort is not, the intention is not real, like to be pleasing or be sharing value or whatever. It's just so I could go do my own thing. So I had to check my heart too. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Are we doing it just to say I did it? Am I doing it just to say I did it? And there are times, I ain't gonna lie, I'm like, oh, I just did that. I did that before, blah, blah, blah. But I did that so I could go and do what I wanted to do. My heart wasn't in it. So that wasn't the right effort behind it.
That reminds me of like when our parents and our grandparents would say, we would have to say something and you're like, I said it. And you're like, I didn't like the way you said it. Your tone was all off.
Your tone was off. I still say that. To the girls. I'd be like, well, your tone is off. I don't like that.
So we're talking about the exact same thing. It's like, you're like, but I did it. I'm like, well, yeah, I got your intention, but your effort was off.
Yeah. Did you do it because you wanted to do it, or you just did it so you could, your outer shell was there? And that's how we show up sometimes. That's not being all in. If your outer shell is there, well, I showed up. I show up at my job and don't want to do no work.
Don't be that couple. I've heard it way too often over the last, good Lord, 18. We've been doing this for a while. But I'm there. Of course I love him. Of course I love her. I'm there. I show up. That's that James Evans. I went to work. I went to work. I put food on the table. The lights are on. You got heat. Of course I love you. But I digress. But we got to be better than that. Mm-hmm. We have to be better than that. And one of the ways, we're going to bring this to a close, one of the ways that we can actually make sure that we're all in, like Snook said at the very beginning of this, is by surrounding ourselves
with like-minded folk, couples. As iron sharpens iron, we as couples should be sharpening each other. And you could get that at the Winter Ball and the Marriage Conference on February 7th and 8th.
Absolutely. So look, get your tickets, get your hotel. Let's have a great time. I look forward to actually hanging out, dancing, and then turning around and really getting pouring into you, but also getting poured into. Look, we're speakers. We're the organizers. We're the founders. But you will see us in the audience taking notes as well. I was about to say,
I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. I'm looking forward to that too. So it's not just about us doing our thing. There's going to be so much value that's poured on. People are going to be blessed in so many ways, So.
Absolutely. So we look forward to actually seeing you. Share it with other people. It will be in the show notes. We'll actually have a link in the show notes directly to the agenda where you can get tickets, the whole 9 yards. And actually have the information for the hotel there as well. I will say this, that by the time you actually hear this, if you hear it on the day that it drops, which is going to be on Wednesday, the 15th, the reservations for the hotel are only as good until the 16th. So we've been promoting, but it's drawing to a close. And registration has been extended to January 23rd. So it's going to be January 23rd, that Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you get your tickets, bring some other couples with you, and let's have a great time.
Yep.
So until the next time,
Be blessed.
be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. Please like, subscribe to, and review the show wherever you access it, and tell a friend about us. Visit marriedintocrazy.com and see how Snooks and Lovey can bless your marriage directly.